The last human general. The jungle moon of Tarsus forebreathed like a living creature. Steaming mist rising from blackened soil, thick vines coiled around twisted alien trees, and predators howling in the distance. Somewhere in that steaming green hell, a man moved silently, his massive frame at odds with the grace of his movements. General Marcus Kaine crouched on a ledge overlooking a murky river. His skin was caked in ash and dirt, his scarred body blending into the terrain. He had once worn the polished armor of Earth's unified command, but now he wore scraps, bone, and cloth, trophies taken from things that tried and failed to kill him. A whisper of movement in the trees. Marcus didn't look. "I heard you the first time," he said flatly. A small, sleek probe uncloaked behind him, humming softly. It was old Terran tech, repurposed and jury-rigged by Kaine himself. "Transmission intercepted. Priority Alpha," it said in a calm, artificial voice. Marcus took the device in his hand and listened. The message was coded Imperium military. He didn't need to decode it. He already knew what it said. They were coming. Far across the stars, the Galactic Emperor Zelvarun IV sat upon a throne of obsidian, veins of violet energy pulsing through it like a living organ. A dozen species knelt in fear before him, but one name, one ghost, haunted his sleep. Marcus Kaine, the last general of Earth. The one man whose army had turned a dozen Imperium legions to ash during the war. He had refused to surrender when Earth fell. He had vanished. And now, rebels on 7 border worlds whispered of a human warlord still alive, still fighting, a phantom whose wrath left blood-soaked wreckage in his wake. The Emperor spat. "Send the Void Talons." A murmur swept through the council. The Void Talons were not soldiers. They were death given form. Assassins bred on moonless worlds, trained from childhood to kill gods if necessary. They had slain kings, warlords, prophets. Never once had they failed. Back on Tarsus 4, Marcus cleaned his blade beneath the roots of a jungle tree. He wasn't surprised. He had felt it coming. For months now, he noticed the patterns, vanishing satellites, unusual wildlife behavior, radio blackouts. The Imperium wasn't subtle when it was afraid. He wasn't afraid of dying. He just wasn't ready to let go until the galaxy knew what a Terran could do. He stood up and looked toward the sky. It was a heavy orange-gray, and something shimmered across the clouds. A faint streak of light. A dropship, masked to the naked eye, but not to a Deathworlder's instincts. "I'll bury them under this moon," he muttered. The jungle fell quiet at night. Too quiet. Marcus lay still inside a makeshift den woven from foliage and the ribcage of a Raxian boar lizard. His breathing slowed. His eyes never closed. He heard them long before they moved. No footsteps, no sound, just displacement, a shift in the atmosphere, a pressure where none should be. 3 of them. One circled above, one in the brush to his left. The third moved from behind. Classic encirclement. Silent. Fast. Too fast for any normal human to notice. But Kaine wasn't normal. He was a Deathworlder, born on a planet where everything tried to kill you from the moment you were born. Earth forged its champions in fire, and Marcus had been fire's favorite son. He counted to 3. Then he moved. In a blur, he exploded from the den, shoving a sharpened bone spear upward into the shadow above. The assassin barely made a sound as it died, its body tumbling to the ground with a hiss. The other 2 surged. One landed beside him, blade outstretched. Marcus caught its wrist, twisted, and drove his elbow into the thing's throat. Its exoskeleton cracked. A scream, choked and sudden, echoed through the jungle. The last one was smarter. It leapt backward, cloaking again, vanishing from view. Marcus didn't chase it. He waited. 1 heartbeat. 2. The jungle canopy erupted as the assassin dove down. But Kaine had already moved. He rolled, grabbed a curved obsidian blade from the ground, and threw it upward. The weapon pierced the assassin mid-air, embedding itself in its thorax. Silence returned to the jungle. Hours later, Kaine stood before 3 alien bodies. One dead, one crippled, one unconscious. He looked at the unconscious one and tied it to a tree. The crippled one twitched, its limbs broken, its breathing ragged. Marcus crouched next to it, eyes hard. "Tell me what he wants, and I'll make it quick." The creature stared at him with hatred. Then it laughed, blood bubbling from its mandibles. "You are the last." Marcus leaned in close. "Then I'm the last mistake he'll ever make." Deathworld response protocol. The crippled assassin's body dangled from a thick jungle vine, swaying slightly in the humid air. Marcus Kaine stared at it, eyes cold and calculating. The interrogation had lasted only 6 minutes. That was all he needed. Now he knew the names of the others. He knew how many more were coming. And most importantly, he knew the Emperor wasn't sending a message. He was trying to erase one. Marcus crouched and dragged the last living assassin, bound, gagged, and unconscious, toward the wreckage of a half-buried escape pod. It had crashed years ago, one of the many relics left from Earth's final offensive. A few functioning systems remained. He powered it up manually, using salvage batteries and sheer willpower. The broadcast array sparked to life. He activated the camera. The feed shimmered in the holographic lens, capturing the image. Marcus Kaine, blood-streaked, shirtless, eyes burning beneath tribal war paint. The limp form of the assassin slumped at his feet, and behind him, 2 corpses dangled from makeshift crosses lashed with fiber vines. "I know you're watching," Marcus said into the feed. "I know you sent them." He bent down and gripped the camera, pulling it closer until only his face filled the frame. "You wanted a symbol crushed, a myth silenced. You should have brought more than 3. The last assassin groaned. Marcus stood up, turned, and slammed the creature's head into a tree trunk. The body fell limp again. He looked back into the lens. "I'm coming." He ended the broadcast and rerouted it through every known comm beacon he'd hacked over the years. Military, civilian, pirate, rebel. The signal would spread. The whole galaxy would hear the Deathworlder's voice again. The Galactic Citadel, orbiting the black star Veraxis Prime, was a fortress the size of a continent, carved from obsidian asteroid and humming with antimatter shielding. Within its heart, the Imperial Court watched the transmission in silence. The hologram froze on Marcus Kaine's face. A few noble delegates shifted nervously in their robes. One whispered, "He's still alive?" "He shouldn't be," another muttered. "They said he was killed on Erida 6. The Emperor stood. His crimson robe fell away, revealing a metallic skeletal frame beneath his translucent skin. His eyes glowed with fury. "Send another team," he rasped. The Lord Commander hesitated. "Your Majesty, we already sent the best. Then send everyone else." Back on Tarsus 4, Marcus moved with renewed purpose. He wrapped the assassin's armor in netting and strapped their bodies to a makeshift sled built from Raxian bone. With thick cord around his shoulders, he began dragging them behind him. His destination, the nearest starport, 50 miles across hostile jungle terrain, abandoned years ago after Earth's fall. He wasn't trying to hide anymore. He wanted them to know he was coming. 3 days passed in sweat and blood. The jungle didn't forgive him. Acid-spitting horned beasts attacked in packs. Vines tried to strangle him in his sleep. Poison spores clung to his skin. But Marcus endured it all. He was forged on Earth. Earth didn't raise weak things. On the second night, a storm tore across the moon. Lightning crackled above the trees, and rain fell like knives. Marcus camped beneath the remains of a crashed Imperium scout ship, fireless, soaking wet. He sharpened his blades in silence. The armor from the assassins gleamed in the lightning, distinct, unmistakable. He knew carrying them like trophies would draw fire. That was the point. He wanted them to come. He wanted the next strike team to find him, so he could send another message. They came on the 4th night. 10 this time. He felt their approach before they made a sound. Pressures in the air, strange silences where insects once buzzed. This team wasn't like the last. They were heavier, more armored, less stealth, more shock. Marcus smiled grimly. Protocol, fire and fury. That's what his troops used to call it during Earth's final campaign. Deathworld response protocol. A brutal, fast, overwhelming counteroffensive when escape wasn't an option. He readied 2 thermal charges, buried them near a fallen log, rigged the bodies of the previous assassins nearby, bait. Their helmets emitted a false heat signature, enough to confuse thermal optics. Then he waited. When the team crept through the trees, Marcus moved. The first explosion lit up the jungle in white fire, consuming 4 of them in an instant. The second threw another 2 into the air. Then came Marcus, bare-chested, screaming, blades in both hands. The first enemy didn't even see the strike coming. Marcus tore through him like wet cloth. Another tried to draw a plasma carbine. Marcus drove his knife into its eye and kicked the body aside. A third parried a strike. This one was fast, skilled. It didn't matter. Kaine let the blade slide across his ribs, caught the alien's arm, and broke it backward at the elbow. He didn't stop until its skull was cracked open. When the last assassin fell gasping in the mud, Marcus stood drenched in blood and rain. 9 corpses, 1 survivor. He would leave this one alive. For the message. By dawn, he stood on a cliff near the old starport. Below him stretched shattered towers and broken ships, swallowed by vines and rot. He dragged all 10 bodies to the cliff's edge, pinned them in a row with long spears, and left the final one barely breathing. He etched words into a nearby wall in 3 languages: Galactic Standard, Terran English, and Kratic runes. You sent them. I'm still coming. The path of flesh and fire. The galaxy burned with whispers. On the mining colony of Deathworld, 6 workers paused mid-shift as a hollow feed played above them. Marcus Kaine, soaked in alien blood, standing atop a pile of assassins like a war god reborn. On the prison moon, Calvary's Prime, hardened inmates wept at the sight of a Deathworlder who still fought while the rest of humanity had been broken, erased, and buried. Even on worlds that had never known Earth, children huddled around projection screens, staring in silence at the man who dragged fear behind him like a comet. The Imperium tried to censor the feeds. They scrubbed Marcus from the network archives, declared it rebellious disinformation. But the footage spread like a virus, peer-to-peer, system-to-system, igniting something long dormant in every enslaved soul. Hope. Marcus Kaine stood inside the rusted hangar of the abandoned Tarsus 4-starport, wrapping thick synth chain around the corpses of the second assassin team. 10 more. Their armor gleamed despite the jungle's corrosion. He'd repaired a half-functioning bulk cargo shuttle left to rot since the war. It didn't need to fly well, just far enough to deliver his message. The NAV system blinked to life. He locked coordinates onto the Galactic Citadel, inputting his route through back channels, smuggler lanes, and pirate codes. He wasn't sneaking in. He was announcing his arrival. He activated the shuttle's internal security cams, lined the walls with the bodies, and left the last assassin in stasis, barely alive, whispering in its sleep. Marcus strapped himself into the pilot's seat. Every movement sent pain shooting up his side, broken ribs, deep lacerations, nerve burns, but he didn't slow. Pain was a memory. Justice was the mission. Days later, the shuttle dropped out of hyperspace near the border world of Neuraxis Theta, a ship graveyard turned warzone. Here, pirate lords and rebel clans scavenged the remains of 1,000 failed conquests. The Imperium controlled only a small portion of the system, guarding a fuel depot critical to Citadel logistics. Marcus aimed the shuttle at it like a spear. The Imperium hailed him. He didn't answer. They scrambled fighters. He ignored them. By the time the first shots hit, Marcus had activated the shuttle's collision protocol. The ship plummeted through the depot's outer defenses, smashing into the landing deck like a meteor. The impact killed most of the crew. Marcus emerged from the wreckage limping, armored in stolen alien plating, dragging the 10 dead assassins behind him on a sled of metal and bone. He walked through the depot as alarms blared, dragging the message behind him. 2 surviving guards aimed plasma rifles at him. He didn't flinch. You're him," one whispered. "The human." Marcus stared at them. "You can run, or you can try." They ran. He lit the fuel depot on fire before he left. Then he transmitted again. This time, his voice echoed across 8 sectors. "You wanted proof of our extinction. You'll get something else." He panned the camera to the bodies. The assassins. The Imperium's elite. Dead, broken, hanging like decorations. This is the cost of hunting a human. By the time Marcus reached the Krellian pathway, a hyperspace gate bordering the Imperial core, the rebellion had already begun. Slaves rose up on Kostir. A rogue AI collective on Mekthar, 3 detonated Imperial archives. The Ren collective, long thought pacified, declared war again, broadcasting his face on their war banners. They called him a prophet, a god, a harbinger. Marcus hated it. He didn't want worship. He wanted the Emperor's throat in his hand. As he neared the citadel, an Imperium dreadnought blocked his path. Its hull alone was the size of a continent. Thousands of turrets pointed at his small, battered transport. Unidentified vessel, you are ordered to stand down. You are approaching a restricted zone. Turn back or be destroyed. Marcus activated his final broadcast. He stood before the camera, tired, bloody, but unbroken. His eyes bored into the lens. I'm not here for diplomacy. He reached behind him, grabbed the last living assassin, and dragged it forward, chained and gagged, its body ravaged, but its consciousness intact. This one's a gift. He kicked the assassin forward. The creature landed at his feet, moaning in agony. I'm here to return your messengers. He ended the broadcast. Then he transmitted the encrypted override codes stolen from the previous strike team. The dreadnought's outer defenses, EMP scramblers, proximity sensors, targeting systems, went dark. For 7 full seconds, Marcus had a corridor straight to the capital. He took it. The dreadnought fired too late. His ship was already inside the Citadel's orbital ring. He landed the shuttle in a maintenance shaft near the palace underlevels. Ancient tunnels, long and used, once built for emergency evacuation and internal power flow. Marcus moved through them like a phantom. He had mapped them years ago during the war. And now, like an old ghost returning to haunt the living, he stalked them again. The path to the Emperor was clear. He left no soldiers behind him, no trail to follow. Only the corpses of those who tried to stop him, and blood smeared across the walls in warning. As he ascended the citadel's spine, he passed through a luxury sector, tall spires, shimmering walkways, and statues of galactic conquest. He paused at a golden mural depicting Earth's fall. Children screaming, cities burning, human soldiers impaled on alien spears. Marcus stared at it. Then he pulled out a plasma torch. He burned it until the metal cracked and peeled away. The final stretch lay ahead. The throne hall. The Emperor. Marcus Kaine dragged the assassin's armor, 10 sets and counting, through the silent corridors. Every clang echoed like a war drum. Every step shouted one truth louder than any rebellion. You should have left the last human alone. Into the throne room. The Imperial throne hall stretched a kilometer long, flanked by obsidian pillars and banners woven from the silk of extinct star beasts. Thousands of courtiers, nobles, military dignitaries, and off-world emissaries lined the walls, all summoned by the Emperor himself. At the far end, raised atop a glimmering dais of crystallized starlight, sat Emperor Zelverin IV, a creature of withered grandeur, clothed in golden robes and coiled in neural cables that connected him to the throne itself. His voice could command ships to shatter planets. His orders had ended civilizations. Yet now, he looked past the guards lining the hall, past the nobles whispering in fear, to the echoing footsteps coming from beyond the great gates. Metal scraped stone. The doors burst open, and there he was, General Marcus Kaine, alive, bleeding, armored in a mismatched collection of alien plating and human defiance. His body bore the wounds of a dozen encounters, slashed flesh, seared muscle, but he stood unbowed. Behind him, 10 sets of alien assassin armor dragged on chains, clanking with every step like death's own choir. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Nobles backed away. One of the Emperor's war priests dropped to his knees in terror. Kaine stopped halfway down the hall. He looked up. The Emperor leaned forward. So, the Emperor said, his voice amplified by the throne's neural symphony, the last human lives. No, Kaine replied. The last human kills. Guards rushed forward, 12 of them in full ceremonial armor, the elite of the Imperium. Kaine didn't flinch. He dropped the chains, rolled his shoulders, and charged. The first two guards went down instantly, one with a broken neck, the other split across the waist by a plasma forge blade. Marcus moved like a storm given form. Fury and technique fused into one. Every strike was deliberate, every motion a memory carved into muscle. The chamber became a killing floor. Guards screamed. Courtiers fled. Blood painted the polished obsidian tiles. And when it was over, Marcus stood surrounded by bodies, panting, his chest heaving, blades slick with gore. He looked up again, eyes locked on the Emperor. "I didn't come to die here," he growled. "I came to end something." Zelvaroon rose slowly, power conduits hissing and glowing as his throne released him. "You came alone, with nothing. No armies. No fleets. What do you think this is? Vengeance?" Marcus spat blood on the floor. "This is justice." The Emperor descended the dais. His arms unfolded into twin energy blades, crackling with gravitational distortion. His robes peeled away, revealing a cybernetic body enhanced by forbidden technology, denser than neutron steel, faster than thought. He lunged. Kaine barely blocked the first strike. The impact knocked him backward, boots skidding across stone. But he didn't fall. He pivoted, ducked the second slash, and countered with a punch that cracked one of the Emperor's arm plates. They clashed again, steel against force, flesh against empire. Every impact echoed through the chamber like thunder. Kaine fought with raw fury, drawing on muscle memory, pain, and sheer human defiance. The Emperor fought like a machine god, efficient, precise, almost bored. But Kaine didn't give him time to calculate. He fought dirty, kicked joints, gouged sensors, broke movement rhythms. He'd fought better tech before. You didn't win by outgunning. You won by outlasting. The Emperor struck him in the ribs. Marcus staggered, blood in his mouth, breathing ragged. The Emperor raised a blade for the killing stroke. Marcus reached in his belt and pulled a small black sphere, one of the Void Talon's grav bombs. He slammed it against the Emperor's chest. It detonated point blank. The explosion didn't kill the Emperor, but it shattered his momentum, tore part of his chest armor free, exposed his core. Marcus didn't hesitate. He grabbed the Emperor by the throat, lifted him from the floor, and stared into his eyes. "This is for Earth." He drove his blade through the Emperor's chest, straight into the neural core. Zelvaroon screamed, something primal, mechanical, and old, and then went limp. Marcus dropped the corpse. Silence fell. He didn't wait for applause. He turned toward the crowd of terrified nobles and ministers watching from the shadows. "I'm not here to take the throne," he said. "I'm not here to rule." He gestured to the assassin's armor, the broken guards, the Emperor's twitching body. "This was your warning." He activated his wrist console and broadcast a final message, galaxy-wide. The holos appeared on every screen in every system. "This throne is empty now," Marcus said to the stars. "Let every world choose what follows. But remember this, humanity wasn't erased." He paused. It endured. When the signal cut, rebellion erupted like wildfire across dozens of sectors. Slaves tore off their collars. Mercenaries flipped allegiances. Entire fleets defected. The Imperium fractured overnight. And Marcus Kaine? He walked out of the citadel alone, slipping into the chaos, disappearing like a shadow. No crown, no army, only legend. Epilogue, weeks later. In a rebel camp orbiting a shattered moon, a child asked an old soldier, "Did Marcus Kaine really kill the Emperor?" The soldier smiled, pulling back his hood to reveal a scarred face. "He didn't just kill him, boy." He pointed to the stars. "He freed the galaxy."